UFC President Dana White was finally confronted on the Jon Jones, Tom Aspinall heavyweight division debacle at the UFC 316 post-fight presser, where he kind of played coy and didn't give really any solid answers. But then at the tail end of the press conference, he randomly slips in there that, oh, Jon Jones has already agreed to fight Tom Aspinall. Now, we're going to discuss what that actually means. We're going to look at a bunch of different clips from this press conference and try to decipher what's actually going on behind the scenes, since Jon Jones has gone on his recent social media tirade, which we're going to take a look at as well. But for Dana to randomly at the end of the presser go, yeah, Jon Jones has already agreed to fight. Basically, the fight's already made. To drop that at the tail end out of nowhere, really kind of, I don't want to say unprompted, but it's not like he was asked that direct question. And then somebody even clarified and Dana said, yeah, he's already agreed. It was just very bizarre considering we haven't got any real answers from the UFC or Dana White about the heavyweight division. Meanwhile, you have Jon Jones as an inactive champion for 7 months. You have Tom Aspinall, the interim champion that's coming up on a year of inactivity. And Dana White's sitting there like, oh, I don't know what's going on. We don't know. I haven't been paying attention. I haven't talked to Jones. We're going to break it all down in this video. The first clip I want to check out would be seemingly disconnected from the Jon Jones, Tom Aspinall saga, but I actually think it is connected in a weird way. Let's listen.
Hey, Dana. Congratulations on another successful event.
Thank you.
You now have your hand in the BJJ world with the UFC BJJ kicking off. Obviously, you own the MMA world and getting into the boxing world, which you will own.
So basically this media member is just glazing Dana White, but I want you to listen to one of his responses here.
The slapping world.
Slapping world.
The slapping world. Look at that shit-eating grin too. Let's rewind that hair.
World.
Slapping world.
Look at that. Now you're probably wondering, Joey, what does this have to do? What does this have to do with Jon Jones, Tom Aspinall in the heavyweight division? Dana White is checked out. He does not care what the fans actually want. He's basically become a bald, older, maybe, I don't even know. I guess they're both bald. Dwayne Johnson, The Rock. I don't know if you guys have paid attention to him in the last few years. From the little that I do pay attention, he's essentially a walking billboard. That's what Dana White has become. If it's not an energy drink, it's bull riding. If it's not bull riding, it's a, power slap. If it's not power slap, it's, superhuman protocol with Gary Brecka. Dana White will try to sell you anything other than his actual fighters. When's the last time you've seen him at a press conference smiling like this, talking about anything other than power slap? It's a rarity. It's a real rarity. And we are all sitting on the sidelines going, man, what's going on with the heavyweight division? Jon Jones, Tom Aspinall, we've been promised this for months upon months. We still don't even have an announcement. It's been 7 months since Jon Jones has fought. He's fought once in the last 2 years. What is going on? And then he's like, yeah, I took over the slapping world, man. And by the way, what an embarrassing sycophant that media member was. So I just wanted to highlight that because while the UFC is burning, we're getting shit Apex cards and the main events are falling out of those Apex cards and the pay-per-views are undeserved title shot after undeserved title shot. This is what Dana actually really cares about. Now, I'm going to jump back to the first clip, the next clip I'm going to show you. But before we actually get to that, and this is really starting off with the Jon Jones Twitter saga, social media saga, and Francis Ngannou, I want to take a look at some of the recent tweets from Jon Jones. He tweets out, just wrapped up the biggest seminar in, I guess it's Phuket history. Half the crowd flew in from the UK. How wild is that? Massive shout out to my guy Tom for all the free promo. Couldn't have done it without you. Seriously though, I'm beyond grateful for the brand new UK following. You guys showed up with so much love and energy and I felt every bit of it. Let's keep the momentum going. Make sure to sign that petition today. We're pushing to 200K. How exciting. This is Jon Jones trolling all the people who have signed a petition to strip him of the belt. By the way, Dana White was asked about that at the post-fight presser. We're going to listen to that clip as well. And what was so annoying about the Jon Jones questions at the UFC 316 post-fight presser is they were all over the place. Normally it's like a 10, if you're looking for a particular topic, it'll be all around the same time period. It's at 2 minutes. It's at 7 minutes. It's at 13 minutes. It's at 17 minutes. It's at 20 minutes. It's at 23 minutes. We're going to listen to every clip, almost every clip, pertaining to Jon Jones, Tom Aspinall. But yeah, I mean, he's trolling people for the petition. Dana White explicitly is asked about the petition at the post-fight presser. We'll check that out, that response out in a minute as well. There's been a lot on social media, and we're not going to look through everything, but we're going to read a couple other tweets from Jon Jones as well as one from Tom Aspinall as well. I spoke to the UFC a long time ago about what my future plans were. I haven't really worked out since my last fight in New York City. Honestly, I believe it's been the UFC's best interest to keep presenting me as the company's champion, not Tom. Now, I know there's still more to this, and we're going to read this in a second, but I think this is very, very interesting. I just want to highlight this again. Honestly, I believe it's been in the UFC's best interest to keep presenting me as the company's champion, not Tom. We'll come back to that in a second. I've just been playing the role of the company man by doing nothing at all and holding my position, and truthfully, it's been incredibly lucrative. I've made more money off Tom being the interim champ than Tom has himself. It sucks to see the rest of the division get slowed down like this, but that has nothing to do with me. I don't pull the strings. There's been a theory that a lot of people have talked about that I've thought myself. The UFC is in the heart of their next streaming rights deal. Where is the UFC going to go? Is it going to be Netflix? Is it going to be Amazon? Is it going to stay with shitty-ass ESPN+? The UFC can use Jon Jones as a negotiating chip. Okay, he is one of the biggest names in the UFC, if not the biggest name in the UFC. I almost said biggest active name. He's not actually active, but if the UFC is negotiating with Netflix, they can say, look, we got Jon Jones, Tom Aspinall on the horizon. They could also be dangling that carrot to Jon Jones. Like, listen, if we can put you versus Aspinall as the first fight of the new streaming rights deal, we maybe can cut you that crazy money that you're looking for. So I think this is just very interesting because maybe the UFC knows Jon Jones wants to relinquish his belt, knows that Jon Jones doesn't necessarily want to fight anymore, but they're keeping him as champion while they negotiate their next streaming rights deal and essentially cucking Tom Aspinall into the next Michael Chandler. Now, we'll talk about that a little bit more when we listen to the post-fight presser from Dana. We'll read a couple more tweets. Duckboy over here winning and sticking one big FU to the haters at the same time. Quack, quack. Just trolling the Tom Aspinall fanboys. We also have this one, which I really want to read because I think it's pertinent to some of the framing of the media's questions where they kind of beat around the bush, misrepresent things, instead of just asking Dana White a direct question because they're too scared of him, I guess. And remember, you can't strip a guy like me at this point. I give up the belt freely, and then he puts this at the end. I don't even know what that means. So this is one of the main tweets that a media member references during the Dana White post-fight press conference, but he kind of misrepresents it. So I just want you to remember that. And then lastly of Twitter, I want to check out Tom Aspinall. I know you all think I'm joking, but I've been saying for a long time, Jon is retired. Have a great weekend, everyone. Bring on 316. For Tom Aspinall, I'm not going to go through all the recent clips. Basically, it's, I got news coming soon. I can't announce fights. He did that one teaser and then announced some dumbass sponsorship, which I don't forgive him for. But basically, this is what he's been saying. Jon Jones is retired. Jon Jones is retired. Jon Jones is retired. So maybe Jon Jones is going to vacate soon. Maybe Jon Jones will vacate. Tom Aspinall will be upgraded to the Undisputed, and then he'll defend against a Cyril Gane. Maybe in Paris. I don't know. That's supposedly a fight night. Maybe they could change that to a pay-per-view. I doubt that, but we'll see what happens. Actually, one more thing I want to show you from Twitter. Let me scroll up and see if I can find it real quick. About Francis Ngannou, because one of the first questions Dana has asked about Francis Ngannou. Anyway, here it is. I'm hearing Francis Ngannou is still interested. Now we're talking. That's a real super fight. A clash of champions, not just hype. He held the UFC belt. I've defended mine for over a decade. Two kings from different roads, not just one legend facing a mouth that's hot right now, but two real legacies colliding. That's kind of the fight that adds something special to my story, at least from my point of view. Now, I personally believe Francis Ngannou can solve all of the UFC's problems right now, but Dana White is too stubborn. We took Francis to more dinners. Francis humiliated and embarrassed the UFC and left on his own terms, and then went on to make generational wealth compared to the peanuts the UFC was willing to pay him. But Francis said, I'm still willing to come back after my PFL deal's over with. But Dana White doesn't seem too interested in that, and you'll see that soon. So let's jump into the actual Dana White presser. First question is about Jon Jones's tweets, then kind of goes into the Francis Ngannou questioning. But the guy misrepresents Jon Jones' tweets. Listen to this.
Something else outside of tonight. It's a conversation we've had many times now, the Tom Aspinall, Jon Jones fight. It's a bit different now, right? Because Jon's been tweeting a lot about the fact that he's told you his plans, he's ready to vacate the belt, and all the rest of it.
He said he's ready to vacate the belt?
He said he doesn't care if you strip him, he would vacate it.
That's not what he said. Now, there's a lot of social media posts from Jon Jones, so maybe I missed it, but I specifically believe he is referencing that one tweet right here where he says, "And remember, you can't strip a guy like me at this point. I give up the belt freely." That's not him saying I'm ready to vacate. So instead of just asking a direct question, they got to beat around the bush and say, well, Jon Jones tweeted this and Jon Jones tweeted that. Why couldn't they just directly ask Dana White? Jon Jones has been champion for 7 months. Tom Aspinall has been interim champion for damn near 2 years and has been inactive for damn near a year. When is the cutoff for making this fight happen? Would have been that simple. Instead of basically misrepresenting what Jon Jones tweeted, because then you don't get a real accurate answer or a real honest or telling reaction from Dana White. But let's listen to his reaction.
Fucking crazy. Yeah, I've been busy. I haven't been keeping up with the gossip. He comes back. He's either back today or came back yesterday or whenever he's in Thailand. So he's home. We'll be home tonight. And Tuesday, we'll figure this out.
Now, don't get me wrong. Dana White, usually his cop-out answer is, matchmaking is on Tuesday. We'll figure it out on Tuesday. Matchmaking is on Tuesday. That answer kind of made me believe they're actually trying to finally solidify a date potentially for Jon Jones, Tom Aspinall. If Jon Jones does in fact want to fight, we can see clearly Tom Aspinall is desperate for that fight, and respect to Tom Aspinall for also saying, look, if it's not Jon Jones, I don't care. I just want to fight. They're stalling me out of my career right now. I want to be active. I want to get the heavyweight division moving. If it's not Jon Jones, fair enough. But it seems like Dana White in the UFC is hell-bent on sitting Tom Aspinall on the sidelines waiting for Jon Jones, similar to what Michael Chandler did for Conor McGregor. Now, the next question, I'm not even going to skip. This is in the same exchange. He's asked about Francis Ngannou. This same media member, again, can't ask a fucking direct question. It drives me nuts. Are you that scared of him?
If he doesn't fight, because he also called out Francis Ngannou. He said he'd rather fight Francis, which I assume.
Who did?
Jon.
Yeah.
Okay. Not that interested in that then. But if he doesn't fight Tom Aspinall, and
Not that interested in that, and then just moves on. Why couldn't you just say, would you be interested in that at all? If Francis is a free agent, would you be interested in trying to make that fight? The fans want it. But no, he just kind of doesn't directly ask the question, then moves on, because he knows that Dana White is still salty that Francis Ngannou embarrassed him and his entire company. But let's carry on.
he does walk away, do you think he's ducked him? Would you?
Tom Aspinall's the guy. He's the guy. I don't know. Yeah, we'll have to see how this plays. Listen, if the guy wants to retire and doesn't want to fight, nothing you do. I didn't want Habib to retire. I thought DC should have stayed in it longer. So it's none of my business. I'll do what I can to make the fight if we can. If he's talking that crazy shit, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, and last one on this. I remember the time when GSP announced he was walking away after the Johnny Hendricks fight, and you said he owes it to the belt and the company to at least defend it against the guy that rightfully should fight for it. Do you think that's kind of the same here with Jon?
Yeah, but Jon's been Jon since he walked in the door here.
Essentially, Jon Jones is always fucking with us and trying to negotiate for more money, is what Dana White is getting at. And Jon Jones sure loves to troll the fans. Now, these trolling tweets could mean that Jones isn't fighting Aspinall, but it could also mean he's just trying to piss off fight fans. But as you can see, Dana White really no response on the Francis Ngannou question. He is asked again later, and we actually get somewhat of an answer. The next clip I'm going to show you, and it's crazy how this is just literally all over the place. He's asked about the Jon Jones petition to strip Jon Jones. Listen to this.
The thing on Jon Jones, did you see the petition online from the fans?
Yeah.
What did you just make of that?
Every human on earth was DMing it to me, and yeah, I saw it.
I mean, I know you say you always listen to the fans and give the fans what they want. I'm just curious what you make of that.
How many fans are there worldwide now? Like, what's the number? It's like 400 million or something like that. Yeah, 130,000 people want to see him stripped.
Sure.
Yeah.
Not enough.
No, I'm not saying that. It's kind of fucking silly.
Sure.
Now, I know a lot of people are going to be like, oh, man, Dana White, he's playing it off like it's no big deal. I got to be honest, I kind of agree with him. I respect people for like, oh, let's get this petition going. I've kind of trolled about it. Like, oh, petition to strip Tom Aspinall of his interim title. But like, people acting like, oh, viral petition, 100,000 signatures. All you do is type in your name and email. Like 100K is supposed to be viral or like some crazy amount now. The video of me absolutely slumping Bo Nickel, or actually reacting to Bo Nickel, getting brutally melted by Rainer Day Ritter, got like 1.2 million views. So I know that's a little bit different than people actually signing, quote unquote, signing their names. But I think Dana kind of responded to exactly how kind of I thought. Like, it's like, I respect it. I understand people are trying to like get Dana White to do something or the UFC to react. And I respect them trying to get behind something. But at the end of the day, Dana doesn't give a rat's ass if people sign some petition online. And that's essentially what he thinks of it. It's just plain silly. Next question, we're going to skip ahead some more, is again, follow-ups about Francis Ngannou coming from PFL, and he talks about Jon Jones potentially not fighting again. Listen to this.
Obviously, you know, this Jon Jones thing is what a lot of people are talking about. I wonder, is there anything that PFL or Francis could do to make that a realistic option for you guys, or are you fully focused on Aspinall?
Yeah, it's Aspinall's fight. I mean, we've been talking to this kid forever about it, and it's his fight. Listen,
by the way, I respect Dana at least standing behind Tom Aspinall there. Man, I would love to see them bring Francis Ngannou back for a multitude of reasons. But the way he said, we've been talking to this kid about it forever, leads me to believe they're telling Tom Aspinall, just hold on. We're going to make the fight. Just hold on. Be patient. We're going to make the fight. You're going to make more money than you ever could have made. If you win, you might get a rematch, which is going to be even more crazy money. That's what that answer told me from Dana. But there's more.
You can't make people fight. If Jon doesn't want to fight, you can't make him fight. We can try to make him fight. We can throw things at him that inspire him to want to fight. But we'll figure it out.
Regarding this TKO boxing thing.
We'll figure it out, and then they go into TKO boxing. When I'm watching this, I'm starting to, okay. Dana's starting to have some doubts, before he's like, oh, we're going to announce Aspinall Jones soon. Aspinall Jones is going to happen. I guarantee it's going to happen. And all that glazing of Jon Jones last year, like Jon Jones, he shoots guns. He's got German Shepherds. He's got a dark side to him. He slaps spray paint cans out of vigilantes' hands. I think Dana's starting to maybe regret that sucking off a little bit. But it's crazy because you go from this to what we heard at the end, which we're going to get to in a second. The next clip I'm going to show you, again, this is literally all over the place. If you guys only knew the timestamps that I have for this is why I always watch all these videos, the entirety of these like press conferences and whatnot, because you never know what you're going to miss. Just really quickly, I know this might not matter to some of you. 2 minutes and 7 seconds, 7 minutes and 49 seconds, 9 minutes and 38 seconds, 13 minutes and 40 seconds, 17 minutes and 55 seconds, 19 minutes and 30 seconds, and 22 minutes and 10 seconds. There you go. If you needed the timestamps, anyone else who's watching this video, there you go. Look how all over the place that is. This next clip, again, he's pressed about Francis Ngannou. This time actually kind of asked a direct question about Francis. Listen to this.
It was kind of crazy how much interest Jon showed in the Francis Ngannou fight. Like, there was some tweets going back and forth. What would happen if he came to you and says, like, I'll fight, but I won't fight Aspinall, I would fight Ngannou? Would you even be interested in that or no?
I don't have Ngannou on her contract, and Aspinall's the guy.
Right. If you were put in the position, would you maybe try to get Ngannou back under contract or no?
Probably not.
Yeah. Understood. I'm just curious. But
No, I understand.
Probably not. This dude will ram any energy drink down your throat. We'll talk about power slap till he's blue in the face. But could the potential greatest heavyweight of all time who is still arguably in his prime, who's more promotable than any heavyweight you've probably ever had on your roster, if he was available to re-sign, you wouldn't even want to explore it. And I understand at the end of the day, he should have said, look, we would think about it, we would consider it, but right now we're focused on Jon Jones, Tom Aspinall. But what pisses me off in general is Jon Jones gets to hold the belt hostage. Francis Ngannou could be the answer to all this, man. Imagine you say, you know what, Tom Aspinall, you are now the undisputed champion. Jon Jones, you're retired, you vacated. Jon Jones can always come back and fight again. Let's sign Francis Ngannou. Let's do Tom Aspinall, Francis Ngannou for the undisputed heavyweight title. Problem solved. If Tom Aspinall slumps out Francis Ngannou, then you offer the fight to Jon Jones again. Look, he just beat Francis Ngannou, the guy you were hyping up. If Francis Ngannou slumps out Tom Aspinall, Jon Jones can be offered the Francis Ngannou fight. You wanted it so bad? You're talking about it? Because a lot of people are thinking, oh, you're only talking about Ngannou because he's on the other side of the fence, which may very well be true. You're talking about Ngannou now when there's really no possibility of you fighting him, but Dana White could easily call his bluff. They could easily go to Francis Ngannou and say, get out of your PFL contract. You have one fight left on your deal. That was a major sticking point. You know, people are saying now, Francis Ngannou desperately wants to come back to the UFC because his coach said Francis would be open to it. Francis wanted a short-term deal because the UFC locks fighters into long-term deals they can cut them from at any time and then treat them like shit. And that's exactly what they did to Francis. So Francis said, well, I don't want to sign another 8-fight deal with you because you treat me like shit in the last deal. And I had to scratch and claw my way out of that deal. So I want a shorter, like 2-3 fight deal. The UFC wasn't willing to offer that to him. So, and honestly, I know this is kind of going a little bit off topic here. The UFC heavyweight division died the day they let go of Francis Ngannou. And fans cheered it on. And this is another reason why I really haven't cared about the heavyweight division at all. And I really don't even care that much about the Jon Jones, Tom Aspinall situation. Is because, in my opinion, and this doesn't apply to everybody, the fans brought this upon themselves. They cheered on Dana White as he shit on Francis Ngannou for simply trying to stand up for himself and doing what's best for him. They cheered him on like, Francis, you're going to be irrelevant, man. Francis, you're going to have nobody to fight outside the UFC. Francis, your legacy, man, is going to be shit. There's nobody in the heavyweight division. The heavyweight division sucks ass. Right now, there's Jon Jones and Tom Aspinall. That's it. And Tom Aspinall has sat out for almost a year. Not even his fault. And Jon Jones has sat out for damn near 8 months. Last time he fought was a dead body of Stipe Miocic. So, in a way, this is the fans' fault because they should have put pressure on Dana to actually treat Francis Ngannou a little bit better, but instead they try to bully him. They're like, yeah, we took him to more dinners. But if Francis fights out his PFL deal, he has one fight left. Or potentially if PFL, for whatever reason, can't find him an opponent, don't want to pay him, Francis has already made a shit ton of money. They could say, you know what, Francis? Go sign a one-fight deal with the UFC, and then we'll talk again. And the UFC can always offer a deal that can match whatever PFL can offer. I mean, tell me you wouldn't be interested right now in Tom Aspinall, Francis Ngannou. I certainly would. So it just sucks that Dana's like, no, I wouldn't have any interest in signing Francis Ngannou at all because we're greedy bastards, essentially. Anyway, next clip we're going to take a look at is him talking about Jon Jones. And this is where he starts to say, this is at the very tail end of the presser, Jon Jones already agreed to fight. And he kind of just glosses over it. And nobody even responds right away. And then right before it ends, somebody follows up and like, wait a second, is that what you just said? Listen to this.
I know you said you can't make him fight Tom, and it's ultimately up to him. I know you've basically been on every wave in this sport. In your heart, do you believe that this is just the process, or is it ultimately you'll get him to fight in your mind?
It's definitely the process with Jon Jones. I've been going through this since the day he started here. And it's definitely the process.
Do you believe it ultimately will happen, though?
I hate that he kind of steps on him here because the guy says, do you believe that it will ultimately happen? And he starts talking about Anderson Silva and Jon Jones being difficult to deal with.
And Anderson Silva, every time, throughout the history of being in business with those guys, when it comes time to get them fight, it's like dealing with artists. It's interesting.
What's your gut? Like, in your gut right now, does it tell you that fight will end up happening?
What's that?
Like, in your gut, do you think that fight will ultimately end up happening?
Yeah, I mean, I've been saying it since the beginning. And Jon Jones agreed to do the fight. So Jon Jones was offered the deal and accepted the deal.
Kind of just glosses over it. Jon Jones was offered the deal and accepted the deal. Now, we're going to get to what this means in a second. But then the last clip I want to show you is like about 2 minutes later, and someone's like, you might not be able to hear the reporter ask the question, but they're asking for clarification. Oh, wait a second. What did you say about Jon Jones accepting a deal? And this is like the last clip of the presser, and then we'll discuss it.
So, Dan, just to clarify there, you said Jon has agreed to fight with Tom.
Like they're not mic'd up or whatever for whatever reason here, but you can like hear it a little bit.
To clarify, you said that Jon agreed to fight Tom, yes?
Jon agreed to fight Tom?
Is that what you just said there? Before, like on the last answer, you said.
Jon agreed to fight Tom, yes.
But he hasn't signed a contract, right?
Right.
But he hasn't signed the contract, and Dana says right.
Yeah.
That's
I mean, you guys have heard me for the last however long. I said, I guarantee you this fight's going to happen. This fight's going to happen. Fight's going to happen. You guys told me the crazy shit that was going on Instagram and all these other places. But yes, I've been saying Jon is going to fight Tom.
So there was some rumors out there that you guys had offered him his fuck you money and he turned it down.
Unless you hear it come from here or we put out a press release.
So I don't know if you're going to be able to hear it because it was so low. But what he said was, well, there's a rumor that you offered him a bunch of money and he turned it down. And this is Dana's response to that.
Don't believe any of this bullshit. It's like the Turkey stuff, you know what I mean? And everybody's saying, I know Turkey said some stuff, but unless we come out and say something, it's all bullshit. I just don't get sucked into that stuff anymore. I don't even care. I don't even listen to it. And most of the time, the shit that I hear that happens, I hear from you guys when I come to things like this. Otherwise, I don't care and I don't pay attention to any of that stuff. But yes, Jon agreed to fight Tom. Fact. Good?
Jon has agreed to fight Tom. Fact. We all good now? We all good now? And he's mad about being asked about, was Jones, obliged with a big offer and then he turned it down? And he says, no, I still think this fight's going to happen. And unless you hear it from us, it's total bullshit. Now, what this tells me, I think this is a very unique situation. We're going to look at what Ariel Helwani had to say about it. It seems like Dana's starting to show a little bit of frustration. And maybe it's because the guy misrepresented what was actually going on online. Jon Jones never said, to my knowledge, he was ready to vacate the belt. They kind of reframed that to try to get a response out of Dana instead of asking him a fucking direct question. I think I already said this earlier. But why couldn't someone have just said, when's the expiration on this? How long are we going to wait to see if this is going to happen? Jon Jones has been out for 7 months. We still don't have a date for him to fight Tom Aspinall, who's been waiting since last July. When is the end date on this that we will actually have an answer for this? Now, the clip I don't have is apparently John Anik said at the press conference, he's hopeful that Jon Jones, Tom Aspinall happens in December. Why? Well, he didn't just pull December out of his ass. That's very, very bizarre that he would say December. So maybe Jon Jones wanted MSG in November. The schedule right now is kind of full up until October. I mean, you look right now, you have 3/17 coming up, which is Charles Oliveira, Ilia Topuria. You have 3/18, which is Dustin Poirier, Max Holloway. You have 3/19, Dricus du Plessis versus Hamzat Chimaev, which is in August. There's no pay-per-view in September. There's a pay-per-view in early October. A lot of people think that's probably going to be Islam JDM. We don't know yet. So it's at least not happening till October. But when is the cutoff? When is the cutoff for them to finally make this fight? And what I believe is, I believe Jon Jones probably told the UFC, give me some time, let me think about it, let me enjoy a little bit of a vacation before I get back to the grind, let me see how I feel. And Jon Jones has kind of been stringing the UFC along. Dana White has then been stringing the fans along because he ultimately believes that it will happen, because he wants it to happen, because it's going to make him a shit ton of money. And then meanwhile, they're telling Tom Aspinall, just wait, just wait, just wait. They're also using Jon Jones as a negotiating tool for the next streaming rights deal. And then all this is just turning into a massive calamity. Now, right now, gun to my head, I know a lot of people are down on the fight and they're like, there's no way this fight's going to happen. Let's move on with the division. My thought process is, while I'm disgusted that this division is being clogged up, the heavyweight division's dog shit. If Jones vacates, okay, sure, Tom Aspinall can move on, but move on to what? a dog shit division with no interesting matchups at all. Maybe Jalton Almeida is the most interesting one. Look, if there's a hope that Jon Jones fights by the end of the year, I know it's sad, but it's already June. We're already halfway through the year. I know it's crazy. I think we probably should wait for Jones. If he's going to fight by the end of the year, we should wait for him. I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying I sympathize with him. But at the end of the day, that's the fight everyone wants to see. All the people complaining about Jones holding up the division is really just a tool. The majority of those people, it's just a tool to try to pressure Jon Jones into fighting Tom Aspinall, which I believe if the pay is right, I believe Jon Jones will take that fight anyway. There's a chance he doesn't. He already has a bunch of money. He could retire and vacate. I've been going back and forth. I'm not ready to die on a hill. I'm not saying, oh, Conor McGregor will never fight Michael Chandler. Jon Jones will never fight Tom Aspinall. I'm kind of going back and forth. But right now, gun to my head, I think Jon Jones, Tom Aspinall does happen. The one thing I do wonder about is, do they try to get Tom Aspinall a fight before then? If Jon Jones isn't fighting till December, Tom Aspinall is typically only in the cage for about a minute at a time. Could they book Tom Aspinall a defense of an interim title? People would lose their minds. But say, look, the winner of this fight is fighting Jon Jones in December. Take it or leave it. And it gets Tom Aspinall active, and it still has Jon Jones fight looming on the horizon for Tom Aspinall. I think there's a lot of moving parts, but right now, as crazy as it sounds, and honestly, it's kind of reliant on Jon Jones really trolling a lot. But if Dana's saying he accepted the deal, I don't necessarily trust Dana. I think Jon Jones probably said, oh, yeah, I'll probably fight him. But the way Jon Jones is just constantly trolling online, that makes me think that he actually is going to take the fight, or he plans to take the fight. Because I, in no world, no way, shape, or form, believe that Jones is actually scared of fighting Tom Aspinall. And then today, Jon Jones posts this on social media. New nickname, the Belt Bandit. And I'll play the video for you. He's just carrying a bunch of belts and throwing them in the back of his car. And oh my God, he's probably scratching up his paint right there. So he's just habitually trolling the fan base to piss them off. I believe he's like, you know what? I just want a lot of time. I want to take this fight. I want to take it on my timeline. I've earned that right. He's entitled. Okay. The UFC and Dana White have babied him and sucked up to him essentially because of Dana White's insecurity about Francis Ngannou leaving and embarrassing him. That's the real underlying issue here. Dana propped up Jones so heavily because he didn't want Francis Ngannou getting any shine. And now Jon Jones has become more of a spoiled brat than he already is. And to be honest, I kind of find it funny because he's literally rage baiting the fans. And I love rage baiting the fans. So it's kind of funny, but it is annoying because it's holding up the heavyweight division. But this was Jon Jones's response today. There were some other tweets as well we're not going to get into. I think he said like 200,000 out of 400 million, talking about the online petition. Then we also have Tom Aspinall saying there's something coming. Dana White says, I'm his man. We love that. I'm going to go and prove that pretty soon. And I'll play a little clip of this as well. It just seems like Aspinall is habitually walking in the park saying news is coming soon. It's actually getting old. If I'm Tom Aspinall, I just stay off social media at this point because it's getting real old.
A lot of people come out and they see what I've said and they think it's some kind of media stuff. I don't do that kind of stuff. If I'm going to come out and say something, it's going to be informed information. As I've said a couple of times, not for me to say. That's beyond my pay grade. I don't announce no fights. I don't announce no UFC news or nothing like that. But there is some coming. There's definitely some coming. So Dana White says I'm his man. We love that. I'm going to go and prove that pretty soon. There will be, I don't want to keep banging on. There will be some news. There'll be
some news soon. This is what Aspinall said time and time again. My guess is they probably said, look, we're either going to get you to fight Jones by the end of the year, or if that doesn't happen, we'll get you a fight sooner than the end of the year for you to become undisputed champion and defend that undisputed title against whatever contender, maybe Cyril Gane, which is an absolute disgrace to the heavyweight division as well. But at least it gets the division active. And then the last thing I want to check out is Ariel Helwani. As I've said all along, Jones asked for a number. They got him that number. He said he was in. He said he was out. So Dana is telling the truth, but I'm not sure if he's telling the full story here. They are holding out hope, but for the first time, you can see Dana's patience is cracking. Look, Ariel is a reliable source in terms of reporting news, but he's so emotional and he's such a Tom Aspinall dick rider. It's hard to fully trust him. And plus he's hearing bits and pieces. It's basically the rumor mill. But to sum it all up and put a cherry on the top, Jon Jones is toying with Tom Aspinall. He's toying with Dana White in the UFC. But that doesn't mean ultimately he won't fight. But I also think Jon Jones has so much leverage over the UFC because of also that streaming rights deal that the UFC is trying to negotiate. And then the last thing I'll show you is from Ariel as well, which is crazy. I mean, he's such a Tom Aspinall D rider. Exhibition, whatever, that John wants nothing to do with Aspinall. If he wants to retire, why is he interested in fighting Francis or Stipe before him? It's either you want to fight or not, like GSP decided twice. Mockery. Now, don't get me wrong. Jon Jones has made a mockery of the UFC. But, like, what I don't get, and I know you can probably expose hypocrisy for anyone, this dude, Ariel, was campaigning for Leon Edwards to defend his belt against Conor McGregor. Like, I don't like when people pick and choose when they care about the meritocracy of the sport. Bilal was on a crazy win streak. I'm not trying to make this about Bilal. I know people are going to be like, Bilal dick rider, Bilal fanboy, but forget it who it was. There was a #1 contender, and you were campaigning for a drug addict, sexual assaulter who hadn't won a fight in literal years to fight Leon Edwards for the welterweight title. And now you're acting like John, saying he wants some more time potentially, is such a mockery of the sport. Or John calling out Francis Ngannou is such a mockery of the sport. So we'll see what happens, guys. I wanted to make this video because I thought we got a lot of new information from Dana White at the post-fight presser. But it's really hard to say. It's really hard to say what's going to happen. We'll have to see how this all plays out. If I have to guess right now, November, December, Jon Jones, Tom Aspinall for the undisputed heavyweight title. As more information comes out, I'll make a video. I'm not ready to fully die on that hill yet. I'm still kind of trying to give my educated guess based on all the information we have. But right now, from what I'm seeing from Jones trolling all the fans, he's trolling them because ultimately he has all the leverage over the UFC. He's going to get the fattest payday of all time from the UFC, and then he's going to go fight Tom Aspinall later this year. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you next time.